In our last operation, we used Nmap to map the network and find the open doors. But finding the door isn't enough. Today, we step inside the network itself. Look at this screen. Wireshark is capturing tens of thousands of packets every second. It looks like complete chaos. Over the next few minutes, we are going to tame this chaos. You will learn how to isolate a target, reverse engineer an active network scan, and witness exactly how unencrypted protocols expose your passwords to anyone who is listening. 30 filters, 1 live investigation. Let's begin. When analyzing a live network capture, the sheer volume of packets can be overwhelming. Before we can hunt for anomalies or track an attacker, we have to eliminate the background noise. By applying this display filter, we instruct Wireshark to isolate only the traffic involving our specific target machine. As the interface refreshes, select any packet from the list and expand the IPv4 header in the details pane below. Look closely at the source and destination fields. You will notice that our target IP address appears in at least one of these columns for every single packet. In a real security operations center, this is the foundational first step. Analysts use this isolation technique to quickly carve out a single host's activity from millions of irrelevant events before beginning a deep behavioral investigation. By adjusting our syntax to focus exclusively on the source address, we force Wireshark to display only the packets originating from our target. Watch the screen as the packets filter down. If you look at the IPv4 details now, the target IP is permanently locked into the source column. Why does this specific viewpoint matter? If a server has been compromised by malware or a threat actor, they will eventually try to extract valuable data or establish persistence. By monitoring outbound transmission patterns, a security analyst can detect data exfiltration, command and control beaconing, or unauthorized lateral movement originating from the compromised host. Understanding exactly what leaves your network is a critical component of identifying an active breach. Instead of watching what the server sends, we need to analyze what it is receiving. By changing the syntax to focus on the destination, we filter out everything except the incoming traffic arriving at our target. When you check the IPv4 header now, notice that the destination field is strictly anchored to our target address. This gives defenders a direct view of the external environment interacting with the machine. Are there unexpected connections from unknown external IP addresses? Are attackers repeatedly launching automated vulnerability scans against exposed services? Monitoring this inbound flow allows security teams to identify active reconnaissance attempts, brute force attacks, and unauthorized access probes before they successfully penetrate the network perimeter. We need to isolate a specific conversation between two unique devices. By combining two distinct IP addresses with a logical AND operator, we instruct Wireshark to discard all other network chatter. Look at the packet list as it updates. Now, you only see a clean, alternating dialogue directly between our attacking Kali Linux machine and the metasploitable target. The source and destination columns continuously swap between these two exact addresses. For a penetration tester or a forensic investigator, this technique is incredibly valuable. It allows you to extract a single suspicious session from a crowded network segment, ensuring that your analysis is focused purely on the interaction between the suspected threat actor and the compromised victim. To track a device persistently, we must look beyond logical IP addresses. This filter targets the specific MAC address of our machine. Open the Ethernet 2 section in the packet details. Right there, you will see the physical hardware address burned into the network interface card. Why does a security analyst care about this? If an adversary attempts to evade detection by rapidly changing their IP address, their physical MAC address often remains static on the local network segment. Identifying malicious traffic patterns tied to a specific hardware address allows defenders to track unauthorized rogue devices, detect ARP spoofing attacks, and maintain network visibility regardless of any logical address manipulation the attacker attempts. We will start by examining standard web traffic. Applying a filter for TCP port 80, instantly highlights all unencrypted HTTP communications flowing across the network. Notice how the screen populates with bright green packets, a visual cue Wireshark uses for HTTP. Expand the protocol details, and you can read the exact requests and responses. This visibility is vital for a security analyst. Unencrypted web traffic means that every URL visited, every file downloaded, and every piece of data transmitted is completely visible to anyone intercepting the network flow. It provides a baseline understanding of normal user behavior, while simultaneously highlighting the severe risks associated with lacking transport layer encryption on modern web applications. Let us look for domain name system traffic. We filter for UDP port 53. Once applied, notice that the packet list is completely empty. Why did this happen? In our isolated virtual laboratory, the machines are communicating directly via IP addresses, so no DNS queries were generated during this specific capture. However, investigating and finding nothing is still a critical part of analysis. In a real-world security operations center, you would expect to see hundreds of queries here. Malware and ransomware heavily rely on DNS to locate their remote command and control servers. By actively filtering for this protocol, security analysts hunt for infected machines attempting to phone home or anomalous domain generation algorithms. Even an empty result provides us with vital forensic context, proving no external domains were resolved. By filtering for ICMP, we isolate basic ping requests traversing the network. Click on one of these ping packets and look at the info column. You will see a clear sequence of an echo request immediately followed by an echo reply. While network administrators use this constantly for troubleshooting basic connectivity, attackers leverage the exact same protocol. During the initial reconnaissance phase, adversaries will deploy automated ping sweeps to rapidly map out live hosts across an entire target subnet. Recognizing a high volume of sequential ICMP requests originating from a single unexpected source provides the Blue Team with an early warning indicator that active host discovery and network mapping is currently underway. By filtering for TCP port 21, we specifically target the file transfer protocol. Once applied, the packet list will display all active FTP control connections currently established between machines. At this stage, we are simply confirming that the service is active and actively processing connections. However, for a security professional, locating active FTP sessions is often a massive red flag. Because it is a legacy protocol that transmits data without modern encryption standards, it represents a substantial and unnecessary attack surface. Identifying this traffic is the crucial first step. In just a moment, we will dive deeper into these specific packets to demonstrate exactly why relying on legacy file transfer methods is a critical security vulnerability. Let us filter for TCP port 22 to observe secure shell traffic. Look at the packet summary in the info column. It explicitly states encrypted request packet. We can clearly see that two machines are communicating, but if you inspect the payload, it is entirely unreadable cryptographic ciphertext. This is the standard for modern network administration. By utilizing strong transport encryption, SSH ensures that even if an attacker successfully intercepts the network stream, they cannot extract credentials, read commands, or manipulate the administrative session. Seeing this encrypted traffic confirms that defensive cryptography is functioning correctly, protecting the confidentiality and integrity of sensitive infrastructure management from passive eavesdropping. Why do cybersecurity experts constantly demand the deprecation of legacy protocols? We are going to apply a broad FTP filter to capture all file transfer communications on the network. The screen fills with traffic, but unlike our previous encrypted example, everything here is entirely exposed. We are looking at the raw, unencrypted dialogue between the client and the server. This is where theory becomes reality for a security analyst. By capturing this clear text communication, an observer on the network doesn't need to break complex cryptography or exploit a software vulnerability. They simply need to listen. Over the next few filters, we will systematically dissect this traffic to extract sensitive authentication data straight out of thin air. By filtering specifically for the FTP user command, We isolate the exact packet where the login process begins. Select the packet and expand the File Transfer Protocol section in the Details pane. Look closely at the request argument field. The username, in this case msfadmin, is sitting right there in completely readable text. This demonstrates a fundamental flaw in the protocol design. An attacker passively monitoring this network segment now possesses half of the required authentication credentials without triggering a single security alert or alarm. This credential exposure highlights exactly why modern security frameworks mandate the strict elimination of plaintext protocols across all corporate and enterprise environments. By adjusting the filter to capture the FTP pass command, we find the exact moment the credential was transmitted. Expand the FTP section again. The request argument reveals the password entirely unencrypted. Now, let's take this one step further. Right-click the packet and select Follow TCP Stream. This reconstructs the entire fragmented conversation into a single, readable window. The red and blue text shows the client and server communicating, with both the login and password glaringly visible. This is the ultimate danger of clear text protocols. An attacker doesn't have to guess or brute force the system. They simply read the network capture, steal the credentials, and quietly walk through the front door. We apply a filter for FTP response code 230. Look closely at the response argument in the packet details. It reads, "Login successful." This single packet changes the entire context of our investigation. We are no longer just looking at exposed credentials. We are looking at confirmed, unauthorized access. For an incident responder, this specific response code is a definitive trigger. It confirms that the attacker provided the correct authentication token and has officially established an active session on the targeted server. The investigation must immediately pivot from monitoring network traffic to analyzing what the attacker is doing inside the compromised system, identifying what files they access or modify. We filter for FTP response code 530. Which indicates an authentication failure. If you see one or two of these login incorrect messages, it might just be a user making a typographical error. But look at the volume here. Hundreds of these rejection packets are flooding across the network in mere seconds. This rapid, repetitive pattern of failure is the definitive network signature of an active brute force or dictionary attack. Detecting this anomaly allows the Blue Team to implement automated countermeasures, such as temporarily banning the offending source IP address before the automated attack script successfulully guesses a valid administrative password and gains unauthorized access to the network infrastructure. You might assume web forms are inherently safer, but over standard HTTP, they are completely transparent. By filtering for post requests, we intercept the data submitted to the web server. Select the packet, scroll down to the bottom of the details pane, and open the HTML form URL encoded section. There it is. The username and password fields are completely exposed. This demonstrates exactly why HTTPS is mandatory for modern web architecture. Any credential, personal message, or financial data submitted over unencrypted HTTP can be effortlessly captured by anyone sharing the same local network, completely bypassing the application's intended access controls and compromising the user's digital identity in seconds. The Git filter shows us precisely which pages on the server the users are navigating toward. Look at the info column. Every clicked link, requested image, and access directory path is clearly logged in real time. As analysts, we can use this data to retrace a user's exact digital footsteps across the application. From a defensive perspective, this is highly valuable for identifying malicious behavior. If we observe a sequence of Git requests targeting restricted administrative directories or known vulnerability endpoints, it strongly suggests that an attacker is actively mapping the application's architecture and probing for exploitable weaknesses within the web server's exposed attack surface. We can automate the hunt for sensitive data by searching the entire web traffic payload for packets containing the specific word password. This is a highly effective string matching technique. Once the filtered packet appears, right-click and follow the TCP stream to view the full context. Among the raw application data, we find another hidden credential. This method is not limited to passwords. Threat hunters use this exact technique to search raw network captures for proprietary source code, leaked API keys, credit card numbers, or known malware signatures, proving that deep packet inspection is an invaluable tool for preventing catastrophic data loss and securing sensitive corporate information. Legacy systems often rely on telnet, which represents the most vulnerable form of unencrypted network communication. Apply the filter, right-click the packet, and follow the TCP stream. Look closely at the black terminal window that opens. Whatever the system administrator typed, every single command, every keystroke, and every administrative password, we see it happening live. We are literally watching over the administrator's shoulder. This provides an attacker with total, unrestricted access to the infrastructure. This visual evidence definitively proves why remote administration protocols like Telnet must be entirely eradicated from production environments and immediately replaced with secure, encrypted alternatives like SSH to prevent catastrophic system compromise. What if the attacker cannot intercept the password directly? They simply steal the active session. We open the cookie section inside the HTTP traffic details. There is the PHPSESSID token. When a user logs in, the server assigns this token to keep them authenticated. If this session cookie is transmitted in the clear over an unencrypted network, an attacker can capture it. By injecting this stolen cookie into their own browser, the attacker can completely bypass the authentication screen and hijack the active session. This highlights why implementing secure, encrypted, and HTTP-only flags on session tokens is absolutely critical for defending against identity theft. How does a defender detect a silent network scan? We need to analyze the TCP flags. This filter isolates packets where the SYN flag is set to 1, but the ACK flag is 0. A single packet like this simply represents the normal beginning of a TCP connection, but context is everything. If you observe hundreds of these initial synchronization packets originating from a single host and hitting diverse ports across your server in rapid succession, that is highly suspicious. This pattern is the foundational footprint of an Nmap stealth SYN scan. By recognizing this specific anomaly, the Blue Team can detect reconnaissance efforts before the attacker launches an exploit.al for defending against identity theft. We need to determine which of our ports actually responded positively to the attacker's scan. Now, we filter for packets where both the SYN and ACK flags are set to 1. This represents the server's affirmative response. This means the attacker successfully confirmed that these specific services are wide open, active, and listening on our server. For an incident responder, identifying these SYN-ACK packets is a critical step in the investigation. It tells you exactly which vulnerabilities the attacker is likely to target next, allowing the defensive team to prioritize patching, isolate exposed services, and actively monitor those specific ports for incoming exploitation attempts. What happens when the attacker probes a port that is not running a service? Here we see the reset flag is set to 1. The server is actively rejecting the connection attempt, telling the attacker that the port is closed. Hundreds of these red RST packets flying back to a single remote host is another classic, highly visible footprint of aggressive port scanning. Intrusion detection systems use this exact logic. By calculating the ratio of incoming SYN requests to outgoing RST responses, defensive systems can automatically identify scanning behavior, trigger security alerts, and block the offending IP address from interacting with the infrastructure. Imagine an attacker sending a malformed packet specifically designed to confuse our firewall's state tracking. Looking closely at the flags, the FN, push, and URG flags are all set to 1 simultaneously. Under normal network operations, a packet like this should never naturally exist. This is the infamous Christmas scan probe, a technique historically utilized to bypass rudimentary firewall rules and map internal networks. Wireshark highlights this anomaly perfectly. Spotting these illogical flag combinations allows the security analyst to identify advanced evasion tactics, proving that the threat actor possesses technical sophistication and is actively attempting to bypass the perimeter security controls. If an attacker has breached a machine and wants to map out the local internal network, they will relentlessly send ARP requests. In the Address Resolution Protocol section, we see opcode is request, This protocol maps IP addresses to physical MAC addresses. If one compromised device is constantly broadcasting to the entire network, asking who has this IP address, it is a definitive sign of internal network scanning. Detecting this activity is vital for identifying lateral movement. It warns the security team that an attacker has already bypassed the external perimeter and is now actively searching for secondary targets inside the trusted corporate network. Hackers need to know exactly what operating systems our devices are running to select the appropriate exploits. To determine this, they often send abnormally sized or malformed packets to observe how the target's networking stack responds. Look at the UDP length parameter. These non-standard, highly anomalous UDP packets are typical probes sent by tools utilizing advanced OS detection mechanisms. By hunting for unusual packet lengths, padding, or unexpected payload structures, an experienced analyst can identify sophisticated reconnaissance efforts that traditional, signature-based intrusion detection systems might completely overlook, adding a crucial layer of behavioral analysis to the network defense strategy. Why is the network lagging or dropping connections? Wireshark flags packets that are failing to reach their destination and subsequently being sent again as retransmissions. You can see this clearly marked in the TCP analysis flags section. A few retransmissions are normal, but if this happens on a massive scale, filling the screen with black and red warnings, your network is experiencing severe packet loss. This could be caused by failing hardware, intense network congestion, or an active denial of service attack overwhelming the infrastructure. Forensic analysts rely on this filter to determine whether a service outage is a technical glitch or a malicious incident. Why is the web server struggling to process requests? We see the HTTP status code 404. The server is returning hundreds of not found errors in rapid succession. When you observe this pattern targeting weird, random, or hidden URLs, it means someone is using automated enumeration tools to brute force your web directories. The attacker is blindly guessing folder names, hoping to discover unprotected administrative panels, backup files, or exposed configuration data. Spotting this high-frequency error rate allows the security team to identify the hostile IP address and block the reconnaissance activity before the attacker successfully locates a vulnerable, hidden asset. Did the attacker actually find what they were looking for? Status code 200 means OK. The server successfully processed the request and delivered the targeted data. By analyzing the traffic timeline and observing exactly when a flood of 404 errors suddenly turns into a 200 success code, an analyst can pinpoint the exact moment the attacker discovered a valid, hidden directory. This context is absolutely critical for post-incident forensics. It tells the response team exactly which specific files, directories, or applications were compromised, allowing them to assess the scope of the data breach and begin immediate remediation efforts. Finally, the most comprehensive tool for a security analyst. This single filter gathers all the errors, TCP anomalies, retransmissions, and suspicious connection drops that Wireshark has detected and aggregates them into a single chaotic screen. The overall health, stability, and security posture of your network is reflected right here. Wireshark does not explicitly tell you this is an attack. Instead, it provides you with the raw, unfiltered forensic evidence. The true skill of a SOC analyst lies in interpreting this evidence, understanding the context, and connecting the anomalies to uncover the threat. This screen is where all 30 filters we discussed logically merge together. 30 filters, 25 minutes, and now you know the truth. Wireshark isn't just a packet viewer. It is a defender's ultimate analysis weapon. You saw firsthand how unencrypted FTP and HTTP traffic broadcasts your passwords to the entire network. You learned the logic behind detecting Nmap scans and identifying automated attacks. Most importantly, you realized the network never lies. If this lab gave you a new perspective on cybersecurity, hit the like button and subscribe to Sentinel. Encrypt your traffic, and I'll see you in the next operation.